it's your boy Jeameave back again on the grind with Views from the Heart, and today we got a 2013 Mercedes-Benz W204 C250. W204 being the chassis designation or generation of this vehicle. C250 is pushing a turbocharged 1.8 liter inline 4 with 201 horsepower and 229 pound-feet of torque. This car also has a curb weight of 3,428 pounds, so it's a little light, it's a little compact, but this is your budget-friendly, your bachelorette type-esque, Santa Monica, West LA type vehicle that you usually see around. And for better or for worse, this is a Mercedes for the masses. This is a Mercedes that someone can say they have a Mercedes just because it's not something that really breaks the bank. And you know, that's pretty cool, you know, when luxury automakers offer things of this nature that allows people to get a taste of luxury, if you will. But when it comes to these lower class, so to speak, or entry level, especially considering the C250 is the base model of Mercedes, they have to meet a stringent line of, they can't put out a product that's too cheap due to, you know, cost cutting and dilute their brand, and they can't put out a product too expensive because they're trying to target a market of, you know, your econo box, top of the line econo box cars. So it's a very tricky line that they have to walk in terms of what can they offer that's still relatively cheap that can compete and take the bottom line off of more economy focused cars, or, you know, like your Hondas and your Camrys, things like that. You know, other than the Mercedes name alone, what are they offering for a cheaper price? You know, it's still not exactly a cheap vehicle. Starting price is $35,000, but that's the key. The starting base price back in 2013 was $35,000. Now what I mean by that is that might sound like a bargain, but although it starts at $35,000, the average consumer, unless you're like a rental agency, something like that, realistically speaking, you're not going to get or want to choose a base level car with literally nothing. So how they get you is, although the price starts at $35,000, options and people that would want, you know, more luxury oriented amenities, the luxury option packages are quite expensive. So although it starts at $35,000, realistically speaking, most of these vehicles would be sold anywhere between the neighborhood of $40,000 to $45,000. So that's a good increase of $5,000 to $10,000 over the base price. So with that said, this competes primarily with like a BMW 328i or a Lexus IS250/200T, or the now IS300, which this 250 is now turned into Mercedes C300 in the W205 designation or generation. So let me take you on the inside and show you what this bad boy is all about, because this is where we would drive. Again, this is a Mercedes C250 2013, a W204, and it has a 7-speed Steptronic automatic transmission. And so I think I covered everything here, so let's go ahead and go on and jump on the inside and see if this budget Mercedes is does it live up to the name, or does it dilute the brand further. Let's go on in. So let's go ahead and jump on in this bad boy and see what's popping in a Mercedes-Benz for the masses. Ooh. Well, right off the bat, people, like I said, this is a Mercedes-Benz. I'm pleased to see that the interior in here is of quality. As you can see, I mean, like a cream, white, oyster type interior color, and it looks very lovely, it looks very exquisite. Now, with that being said, though, when I compare this to the IS250, now, or IS200T that I did, that was F Sport. Now, on a used market, the F Sport will retain its value more. It's more expensive by anywhere between probably about $4,000 to $6,000 more expensive. But brand new, these two vehicles compete with each other. The Mercedes C300 and the IS300. And the thing with Lexus and Mercedes is that Lexus is obviously a luxury brand itself. But when many people think about Mercedes, it's just, you know, how brands are perceived, and it's the way they market themselves. And I feel like this is a fair enough assertion to say that many people consider Mercedes to be a more luxury oriented or a more world-class brand than Lexus. Many people think that Lexus is merely a button-up Toyota. But to those people, I'll say that for at least with what Lexus has been releasing recently, they're wrong. I feel like the Lexus IS 200T F Sport interior blows this one out of the water. It's just far more aesthetically pleasing. I feel like the leather used is more extensive. There's more leather used throughout. Now, granted, don't get me wrong, the F Sport is a little bit more expensive, but not by much. Maybe about $2,000 to $3,000 more expensive when compared to this vehicle when it's optioned up. So realistically speaking, they do compete with each other, even though this is, you know, a base Mercedes and the Lexus is a base IS. This is a base C-Class. And it's funny because my main issue is that when vehicles offer a base model and then from this same chassis, basically, although there's many extensive upgrades in the engine, horsepower range, and the suspension, things like that, everyone knows, and then there's no comparable way that you can compare this C250 to a C63 AMG. But that's the thing, to the average eye, the average consumer that doesn't pay attention to these things at all, they might pass off a C63 as just another C-Class, which in all reality, a C63 is in the $80,000 range, depending on what options you get and what year and things like that, brand new anyway. But this is obviously almost half the price of that. So you can see the misconception here when you offer a base model of a high-end model, and realistically speaking, C63 is considered an entry-level performance model, which is crazy when you think about it because it's so expensive, yet it offers so much, but that's still considered entry-level by, you know, well, I guess based on price. So what I'm trying to say is, when it comes to Lexus, when it competes with Mercedes and likes of BMW and its German rivals, etc., and Audi, Lexus has a very hard conundrum to deal with, in a sense that it wants to offer the same opulence that a Mercedes has, but its name, for one reason or another, or for whatever reason, to many people, it doesn't carry the same oomph, that same, you know, when you roll up in a Mercedes, people are, okay, a Mercedes successful, you know, dial going for them. For Lexus, you know, the same can be said, but it's just not as apparent to those, to the ignorant, you know, and that's not necessarily negative. It's just, it doesn't have the same connotations. It doesn't carry the same weight. And many people in today's day and world, they like to fake it till they make it. They enjoy having something that is of higher status without paying for a set higher status price. And, you know, I'm a believer in that to an extent, you know, in terms of in vehicles anyway. I definitely don't think one should take the depreciation on these vehicles, because German cars depreciate immensely. The moment you drive it off the block, you probably lost $10,000 right there, realistically speaking. And it's crazy to know that this car now, shout out to Carlux, is available anywhere between $13,000 to about $18,000 in that range. And that's more than half of what this vehicle was worth brand new, or costed brand new, only 5 years later. Remember, this is a 2013. This was the last generation of the W204. So it lost more than half of its value, or what it was paid for, in 5 years. I mean, you do the math right there. That's a steep price to pay in depreciation just to say that you have a Mercedes. While meanwhile, an F Sport will still hover a little bit above half of what it was originally paid for. Still a lot of depreciation, but not as much, and you still get more, in my opinion. But with all of that, I'm going to preface everything I just said by saying this is not a bad interior. This is built with, you know, the masses in mind. And, you know, I haven't driven it yet, so who knows if this driving experience is better than what I experienced in the IS 200T F Sport, which is, you know, with the F Sport designation is supposed to offer a more sporty drive, while this doesn't have AMG package or sports or anything. It's just a nice luxury feeling Mercedes. And like I said, the materials in here are used nicely. The soft touch materials are nice. It's just when I try and give an honest opinion and I try and compare it to what the IS 200T offered, it's really just not as much. And like I said, that's the main thing with Lexus. Lexus wants to offer what a Mercedes has at a cheaper price. So they have to try harder. They have to be better. And, you know, that's a great metric for those that are aware of what Lexus can offer. The interior in the Lexus is better, in my humble opinion. But to many people, the exterior may not be as good looking as this Mercedes C-Class. Now, I personally like the spindle design of the Lexus IS 200T, but to many people, they find it too polarizing or too out there, or too this or too that. Well, this has a much classier, much subdued, and just much it's a Mercedes, you know? I mean, it's a Mercedes-Benz. And I keep on saying that because to many people, that's all that really matters. It doesn't matter what a Lexus or a competitor to this Mercedes offers, because at the end of the day, it will never be a Mercedes. Even if what the competitor offers might be better and possibly even tenfolds. And that's a phenomenon that is very hard for any brand to come over, and I'm not sure if Lexus will ever really jump over that hump. It's because, one, you can't price your vehicles at the same exact price as what is offered in a Mercedes and try and compete with it. You can only really offer it a couple $1,000s cheaper while being better. And I think that's really good, because although it keeps companies honest in their competition, it means that those who are informed buyers realize the value they're getting out of something, that just because it doesn't hold a certain name or a certain brand does not mean it's not as good or equivalent or anything of that nature. So without going off in more of a tangent, I just want to give you guys a little bit of background and my personal thoughts on when I come across the many vehicles that I've been blessed with thanks to CarLux and being able to see on a consistent basis and compare them. Again, I'm going to reiterate, this is not a bad Mercedes. Would I own this? Could I see, like my mom or my girlfriend or my wife or whatever, or my daughter in the future or something like that, something equivalent to this in the future? Absolutely. This is, just a regular commuter that is more luxurious than your Honda or your Accord or Honda and Accord is the same thing, or your Camry or your Civic or something like that. And on the used car market, it's really, really affordable. And I think that is something that is very appealing. Like I said, it doesn't matter what I'm trying to say is, it matters what you want to convey about yourself, in all honesty. I mean, if you're struggling and you can't afford this car, obviously don't get it, even if it's cheaper, or even if it's within the realm of what you think. But if you're trying to accommodate the maintenance and things on other factors like that, anyone can tell you what is best for you and what isn't. But at the end of the day, anyone will make a decision that they want to make, regardless of how informed they are. So by that I mean is, do what makes you happy. If you want a Mercedes and you have a 1-bedroom apartment in Watts or something like that, I mean, do you. It's your life. But at the end of the day, you probably should, it would behoove you anyway to get something a little bit more in your means, a little bit more reliable, and focus on saving money to get out of a most likely unfavorable situation. That's just an example. But with that being said, I am not bashing this vehicle at all. I do genuinely enjoy this vehicle. It has ample space in the front. Granted, with the seats all the way back, if you're a taller person, if I'm sitting behind a taller person that has the seats all the way back, even I would be uncomfortable in here. It's not a large vehicle, and like I said, it weighs 3,428 pounds. So that's really cool. It's really small, which is almost 300 pounds less than the IS200T F Sport. So that's pretty incredible in and of itself. But compared to the IS200T, I feel like the cabin is more spacious, it's less compact. I feel like in here is a little bit bigger, which is kind of oxymoronic when you think about it, because it weighs 300 pounds less. That's a pretty significant chunk. That's almost two adults averaging, 100 pounds, 150 pounds to 160 pounds. That's a pretty significant weight. That's basically 2 less passengers traveling with you. And with that being said, when you think about something like this, it still offers a lot. Like, again, don't get me wrong, it's not a bad vehicle whatsoever. This is a nice, lovely place to be in, despite the fact that its price tag is much more affordable. I feel like Mercedes hit the mark in terms of offering something that still has a Mercedes badge, that still feels better than, your Hondas and your Toyotas. But I feel like when you compare it to your Lexuses, or Lexus E, or however you want to pluralize it, or Lexus, it doesn't necessarily fall flat. It's just you see the attention to detail more in the Lexus equivalent, at least for the C-Class and the IS, because this is an extremely important segment. There's a lot of stark competition with each other, so manufacturers really have to offer something that stands out. And I feel like Lexus has hit that mark, and Mercedes has hit the mark with this as well. So again, this is a lovely interior. I do very much enjoy it. It's comfortable. The seats are very comfortable. I'm just scared of, like, again, it is a turbocharged 1.8 liter 4-cylinder, and I have yet to come across a 4-cylinder that has completely changed my mind about it. The 200T was close. I honestly probably would, you know, own that vehicle or think about purchasing that vehicle, but again, I don't know, the 4-cylinder is still in the back of my head, in the back of my mind of, man, I wish it was just something different, you know, offered in here other than a 4-cylinder. I would much rather a naturally aspirated V6 or inline 6. Mercedes inline 6 is coming back, by the way, people, for those who do not know. It's actually already back. I believe it's in the 2019 CLS, which they completely messed up the design. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure it's in one of the new 2019 models, but I'm pretty sure it's a CLS. But anyway, enough of my going off on tangents. I'd rather have that and a little bit worse gas mileage than being stuck with the 4-cylinder. That's just my personal opinion, but you know, let's go ahead and jump in on the driving portion, because I believe I talked to you guys ears off enough. Like I said, just to recap a little bit, the interior is lovely, just not necessarily as good as LX's equivalent, but that doesn't make it worse. It just means there might be a better option for some people. But like I said, the trade-off is some people may not like the exterior of the Lexus and prefer the more subdued and subtle approach of this Mercedes, while offering a somewhat comparable but not quite there in terms of the use of extensive leather that I felt around in the IS. And it was just more aesthetically pleasing on the inside. It felt more like more detail was being conveyed throughout, and it felt like it was more driver focused. This feels like more of a run-of-the-mill Mercedes, kind of just plastered down Mercedes layout, and it works. It's not bad. But you know, again, let's go ahead and take this bad boy for a little spin and see what it's like to drive, because like I said, it's still a lovely vehicle. It's still a good buy. It's still a good decision. You can't really go wrong with either one. It's just more of, I like to make my viewers aware of what else is out there and not just chase after a name or a particular brand just because. It's good to try new things, people. But anyway, let's go ahead and take this back for a drive. Let's go. So what's it like driving a Mercedes-Benz C250 W204? It rides really well, actually. What are you thinking, Robert? It rides pretty well, doesn't it? Yeah, it's riding pretty well. Again, this is a 4-cylinder. It's only 201 horsepower, but I don't know, it feels... Remember, this is only 3,428 pounds. So this is a pretty light vehicle for what it is, especially a luxury coupe. And, you know, the interior, like I explained before, it's not as good as the IS 200T that we did a review on. But at the same time, this is 3 years older and a generation older than that IS. But again, like I was trying to make the example of Lexus, when they realize things like that, Lexus tries to, you know, pinpoint their products in a way that is comparable, if not better, but also cheaper than their German rivals equivalents. And that's a very hard line to straddle, because one, you want to give the impression and the presence that a Lexus carries the same weight as a Mercedes. But in many people's minds, you know, Lexus and Mercedes, when they go just by name alone, it's safe to say that most people would choose a Mercedes over a Lexus equivalent unless they're an informed buyer. And like I said, this interior is not a bad place. You know, you got nice Southwest materials, the leather seats, leather on the door panels. It's a very nice place to be in. But it's also kind of bland. It's not as poignant or futuristic as how the Lexus was. You know, it's kind of just subdued. You know, that's really the best way to put it. But let me, I forgot to go, bro.
Yeah, I saw it and I was like, should I tell him? Like, nah, he's talking right now.
But, you know, let me see, I'm gonna put my foot down a little bit. And, well, obviously it's a little uneventful, but once it winds out a little bit, you got a little bit more, you know? It's not it feels enough. It just doesn't have that you know, that immediate thrust, that immediate like, all right, we're moving, you know.
We were moving.
I mean, I'm not gonna say what speed it was, but see, you felt that, you know. It's kind of funny because there's a Camaro right here, and I guarantee this Camaro SS is the thing I'm trying to race. And no, I'm not trying to race. No, it's an older SS.
Oh, it's one of those.
It's one of those.
Damn.
Yeah.
In the Z01, why you put the badge, bro? Dang.
But yeah, I can't stand that generation Camaro. But anyway, this is reviews about the Mercedes C250, and honestly, the steering is honestly, it has a nice, decent weight to it. It feels a little bit more heavier. It's translating a little bit more feedback than the IS250 S4, which I think is kind of ironic, considering that was meant to be more of a sporty vehicle, whereas obviously this is, you know, your base model Mercedes C-Class. And you know, for better or for worse, I'm enjoying how it's driving. It has nice feedback from the road, but yet it's not beating me up. And again, we're in Inglewood, and anyone knows that lives in LA and drives to Inglewood knows that Inglewood has some of the worst streets when it comes to ride comfort. There's potholes everywhere, all sorts of road debris and all sorts of nonsense that you don't want to deal with. But I feel really comfortable in here. Granted, we felt comfortable in the IS as well, but it's pleasing to see that Mercedes has offered a much cheaper vehicle, but at the same time it still feels luxurious. Now at the same time, I'm still missing a better sounding engine and a more powerful engine. Could this use more power? Absolutely. But at the same time, anyone looking to buy this vehicle is either hampering and just has a knack to want to say they have a Mercedes, or they understand that they're getting a Mercedes with a sacrifice of a lot of horsepower. Remember, this has as much horsepower as your average lawnmower, so so I mean, like, you know, it's something that is really cool. And you know, like I said, it's nice to see that despite the fact that this is cheap, at least relative to Mercedes anyway, I still would choose this over, like, you know, your Accords or your Camrys or something like that I'm well aware of. I feel like it's still worth it, you know. And you know, it's something that is you know, that Camaro, man. But they say it holds its own a little bit. Obviously that was clearly not a race or anything like that, but it doesn't really feel like, oh wow, we're moving. It feels like it feels spunky, you know. It feels like it has just a little oomph, and I feel like that's attributed to obviously this being a turbocharged 4-cylinder. It's not a naturally aspirated engine, so you get that nice little kickoff, you know. Obviously it wanes pretty much right after 3,000 RPMs, you know, but it's only a 1.8 liter engine, people. You can't expect much more than that. But I feel for like what it is, when you take it into context for what this vehicle offers and what this engine offers, you can't really complain about it like that, you know. It's serviceable, it's good, and on the used market right now, these vehicles are pretty cheap. They're in the range of, you know, like $14,000 to $18,000 realistically speaking. And I feel like in that range, this is definitely worth it. This is definitely a good starter vehicle that has enough power to where you can still make some maneuvers and feel relatively safe about it. You're like, oh my god, like I'm pressing on the steering wheel and it's still not moving.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's pretty cool. Granted, like I said, alright then, Robert, an unbiased opinion. Considering that this is a good, what, the IS200T was like, what, 24,000 around there?
Probably.
And this is going for, you know, like 16 around there, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, that's a pretty good $8,000 difference, but
see, that's gonna be kind of a tough one.
See, that is a tough one. Like, do you spend $8,000 more for a 3-year newer car with a,
especially if it's a newer car, it's like the newer, like the new model? I mean, it's kind of a tough one. I mean, it does have the S4 calculator,
but is that premium worth it though? Like for a buyer that's looking for something like this. Remember, This offers a comfortable interior.
Really?
Not as good in my opinion.
Yeah, but honestly, like if you're really not worried about any type of cost, but you don't want to spend like, you know, constantly, because it is a difference between a Lexus and a Mercedes, German versus Japanese. So you gotta really
reliability, maintenance costs, things of that nature.
Because you don't hear that much about Lexus, but you hear like sometimes on Mercedes, not as often as BMW, but you know, you kind of know where people are heading. But I do see a lot of Lexus out there.
This is facts. And you know, like I said, I do feel like this is a reliable engine as well.
But if you cannot afford the Lexus and this is one of your best bets, then this honestly will be your best bet on getting.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like there's really no wrong choice to go with this. If this is what you're looking for, just a comfortable, everyday commuter that, you know, it just offers your luxury amenities, but it's just a comfortable cruiser. You're not speeding anywhere, you're not racing anywhere, you're not doing anything ridiculous.
Yeah.
This is honestly a really, really good car. It rides really comfortable. I'm extremely surprised about that. Like, I am not getting beat up. I'm comfortable. We have the AC on. It has decent space. It's not the biggest family hauler, obviously. You know, I feel like you definitely be a little uncomfortable behind there. And the use of materials is still pretty good. Like, I honestly really like this vehicle. It's giving me enough feedback in the steering wheel, which I'm extremely surprised about. That, you know, it makes it a little fun. You know, and that's what I like about the vehicles, is when I'm just driving something that's just fun. No matter if it's ugly or if it's slow, if it's fun, you know? And which is why I understand why some people like the FRSs and things like that. I think the FRS is an absolutely hideous vehicle, and I think it's extremely underpowered. But it offers a go-kart feeling that people enjoy.
Yeah, but you gotta spend like so many mods on it just so you can have fun. Like, honestly, you can have fun.
You can?
Like, that small engine.
But
the car's small. Literally.
It is. Like, so that's not the way off comparison, but I'm comparing more so the fun factor. Like, does it offer enough for the average customer, not necessarily people like us that, you know, try and search for a little bit more oomph. But I feel like this offers more than the average consumer could really possibly want, honestly. Like I said, this isn't a cheap vehicle brand new. It's still in the neighborhood of $40,000 when you option it up. But used, this is a very, very tantalizing and good choice. Like I said, this is I actually would buy this vehicle if I could be able to afford a second vehicle and just say, you know what, maybe I'm tired of my car's exhaust, or, you know, I just want something a little bit more comfortable or something like that. You know, just go from A to B. You really can't go wrong with this. It's cheap, it feels good, it looks good.
Yeah, because this car is well kept.
Yeah.
Not really any
there's really, I can't even find a single scratch in here on a used vehicle.
Yeah.
Or wear. The seats are in absolute condition.
Yeah, that's why I kept looking in the back. Like, if you see the camera or whatever.
Especially with this interior color, like, this was really well maintained.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's also a testament to Mercedes quality. Keep it up. Take care of it, it takes care of you. And like I said, it's not fast, but it still offers a little something, you know. It still feels cool, it still feels good. And that I can appreciate that, because like I said, it's not the fastest vehicle, but it's not the slowest vehicle either. And it's funny because although this has 100 less horsepower than the Audi A7 that I did yesterday, I hate to say it.
Oh, no.
I hate to say it.
Don't say it.
I hate to say it, but I hate to say it, but this is honestly more fun to drive.
You said it.
No, honestly, I swear. But honestly, like, doesn't this ride better than that? Like, honestly, think about it. Like, forget how the A7 looks. Just the A7, people, not no higher, not no prestige model, no anything. Just that A7 that we drove. Was it bad? No, but it's so much more expensive than this that you're kind of wondering, like, man, is it worth it? Like honestly, is it really worth it? Like, brand new, that vehicle is a nearly $70,000 base price.
True.
This is maximum 45, 47 at the absolute most with options. It's nearly a $30,000+ difference when you option up the A7. And when you look at it from that perspective, man, is it worth it? Like is it really worth it? Because this offers comparable luxury amenities inside. It offers just as good, if not a little bit better, luxury ride. It's a little bit more supple. So at the end of the day, you know, it's really hard for me to say this, but I mean, like, I guess the A7 just wasn't really what it was cracked up to be.
Maybe for that model.
Maybe, like I said, just the A7 people, not the S7, not the RS7. All the Audi fanboys bought it.
What you talking about?
But no, like I said, I really try and think of everything cohesively and what you're spending your money on. And honestly, in terms of the A7, man, it's really tough to say. And people won't really understand me unless they were to drive both of these vehicles back to back. I literally drove the A7 yesterday, and I'm driving this today. And I don't really see, from a fun perspective, like honestly, this has 100 less horsepower, but you felt a little bit more. Remember that A7 weighs basically 1,000 pounds more.
Yeah, but the A7 was slightly a bit, like that one you could basically almost see like you were moving. This one, it was like kind of like slow.
But you feel like that little kick initially. It's like it's really,
and then after that it just kind of like that's it.
Yeah, but the steering feedback that I'm getting in this vehicle is a lot better than the A7. The A7 was really muted.
No, I think this one is just well more taken care of, which I'm actually shook. To be quite honest.
Because like I'm not sitting here BSing. Like this really feels nice. Like it's honestly it's hard to say, people, and to really explain exactly what I'm talking about, but I love this vehicle. I really do.
I really just buy it.
You got
later on.
You got 20 G's?
Bro, do you got 20 G's? I'm pretty sure you do, bro.
I really don't, bro. But I mean, like I said, people, you heard it here first. This vehicle is available at Carlux. Shout out to Carlux. Thank you so much, Robert. Superman Rob right here sitting with me, shotgun. Sunny, Carlux right here in Inglewood, California, right off the 105 West. This same exact model that I'm gushing over basically is available right here at Carlux.
Yeah,
and
sprung all right.
Don't be mad because I'm out here spitting facts. And you know, it's hard and sad for me to say this, or to say what I said, but I mean that's honestly how I feel. I have to really try and give an honest opinion, my opinion, on, you know, what I'm spending my money on and what it feels like. The A7 is a gorgeous vehicle. It's still a good vehicle. It's just when I think about it in my head and I understand how much that vehicle costs, what exactly am I paying for other than its stunning looks? And I think in this day and age, looks is just, for me personally, it's not enough. It's really just not enough. And you know, it's tough to say. It hurts to say it, but I don't know. This is really a lovely vehicle. It really is. See, like I said, it has a little bit, and I wasn't even full throttle. It was barely like 30%, but I still was able to get to where I need to be and do what I feel like doing. So look at that, very little body roll. The steering wheel is giving me the feedback that I would want. It has enough weight to it. It's not BMW steering, but it's giving me enough to where I feel comfortable. I feel like I can take some turns, some curves with this and not feel like I'm flying blind, basically. But again, I think I covered everything about this vehicle. Again, I really do love this vehicle. I think you really can't go wrong. I think it offers everything that the average consumer could possibly want, and it's really just overall one of the best commuter vehicles that I've really ever driven. It's not fast, it's not necessarily slow, but it's not fast, but it offers good comfort, good luxury at to me, a good bargain of a price. And I think that's really all there is to it. If you're looking for a really good commuter vehicle that isn't too expensive, that is sub $20,000, I think I would implore you to look into a Mercedes C250, because like I said, I honestly can't go wrong with this, and this is one of the first vehicles that I can honestly sit here and say and wholeheartedly recommend for someone looking for all of the aforementioned. Good commuter, cheap, luxury, good ride comfort, and a little bit of fun sprinkled in. And I would say Mercedes hit the mark on here. Kiki, we ride.
Oh, hell no.
But with that said, it's your boy Jeameave. This is Views From The Heart. It's my boy Superman Rob. Thank you guys so much for watching, especially you the viewers. This video's not coming to close. It's Views From The Heart. I'm out. Have a blessed day.